Great to be back from vacation. I take 1 week off a year. And it's crazy how much happened in that week, which we'll get to coming up in just a couple of minutes in the big story. Jerry Bonkowski will be here later in the show from Essentially Sports. Joins us every Monday to break down what's going on in NASCAR, where we had Chase Elliott pick up another win, his second of the season. Want to see who's going to challenge Tyler Reddick, and maybe Chase Elliott winds up being that guy. He won in Texas this weekend. We'll get into that some. Sam Yarnell will be here to weigh in on the big stories around the NBA playoffs, also the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, and baseball, where the Yankees are dominating right now. And speaking of the Yankees, a little later on in the show, we'll have to pay tribute to John Sterling, the longtime Yankees play-by-play voice who passed away. It was announced on Monday morning. He had suffered a heart attack back in February and really had been working right up until that point. He stopped the play-by-play aspect of his career a couple of years ago, but was still doing a weekly talk radio show in New York, and one of the great all-time play-by-play voices, certainly in New York sports history, but sports at large. Had done it for a long time. John Sterling passing away. I have something to say about that a little later on in the show. In odds and ends, golf with Cam Young winning. This time in Doral after winning at the Players' Championship. So he likes Florida golf right now. We'll get to that coming up a little later on as well. But we start things out on this Monday edition of the show as we always do. It's time for the big story. And the big story deserves a colossal sponsor. And that's our friends at Colossus Fantasy. Go download the app today. Pick'em games, fantasy, peer-to-peer, you name it, they have it. It's a fantastic app. You download it, and what you do is use my promo code SPORTSWRAP when you sign up and make that first deposit. A $10 deposit gets you a $40 bonus. A $20 deposit gets you an $80 bonus. It's $100 to play with just for depositing $20. Go and check it out. Download the app today. It's fantastic. Colossus Fantasy here on Sports Wrap. All right, I go away for 10 days, and somehow the sports world decided it was just going to lose its mind. I mean, seriously. This isn't we missed a couple of scores. This is you blinked, and it felt like everything changed. Let's start with the NFL, because of course we are. The draft happens. Massive crowds in Pittsburgh. Wall-to-wall coverage. All to watch guys go up on stage in suits, for the most part. Still, one of the biggest events on the calendar, even when the games are not being played. But that's not the story. The story, the NFL somehow manages to dominate headlines with drama in the offseason. And that's no different right now. The Diana Rossini, Mike Vrabel story obviously comes to mind. And then, Fernando Mendoza gets drafted, Ty Simpson, all of that. Because even when nothing's happening, something's happening. Meanwhile, in the NBA, we went from we know who the contenders are to I have no idea who's coming out of this thing. You had Game 6s, a bunch of Game 7s in the East, blown leads, momentum swings. This postseason just flipped completely over the last 10 days while I was on a cruise ship. Now it feels like this thing is a lot more wide open after Oklahoma City. That's the best thing the league has going right now. We'll get to that coming up a little later on. And baseball. Oh yeah, baseball. You can go from contender to full-on panic in about a week. You got hot streaks, cold streaks, blowouts, weird scores. Teams like the Cardinals, who were supposed to be terrible, suddenly look unstoppable. Others already answering questions they didn't expect until July, all the managerial firings. We got more on that coming up. It's baseball, 162 games. But somehow every 10-day stretch feels like its own season. And oh, by the way, while all of that is happening, you had the Kentucky Derby, first female trainer ever to win a Kentucky Derby, Formula One in Miami, tennis finals all at the same time, golf, which we'll get to a little later on in the show as well. So if you need to unplug for a few days, good luck. It's kind of hard. It was kind of hard to do it while we were on this cruise. And then we had this. And who in the hell saw this coming? Live Golf. Obviously in tons of serious trouble. There were the reports weeks back about whether or not they were going to lose PIF funding. And then the reports came out that Saudi Public Investment Fund, the entire financial engine behind LIV is pulling its funding after this season. Let me repeat that. The league that spent billions disrupting golf, trying to knock the PGA Tour from its perch, might not have a future beyond 2026. And even if it does, it's going to look a lot different than it looks right now. They've poured over $5 billion into this thing. And now they're scrambling for new investors. Players are trying to figure out how to exit. And the entire golf world right now is sitting there going, wait, is this thing actually over? And just like that, the biggest disruptor in golf might be the biggest what if in sports history. So yeah, that's what's happened over the last 10 days. We didn't even get into the NHL, which we'll talk about a little later on in the show with the Stanley Cup playoffs underway. I just step away for 10 days. The NFL dominates headlines without a single game being played. The NBA turns into chaos with the Celtics getting knocked out of the postseason. Baseball hits panic mode. 2 managers get fired. The sports calendar kind of goes into overdrive. And one entire league fighting for its life, that being LIV Golf. In sports, you don't miss a week. You miss everything. All right, as I said, we have a big show ahead. We'll be joined by Jerry Bonkowski later in the show to talk about NASCAR. A lot of baseball to get to. There was a lot that happened over the 10 days, as you heard me just describe. But Sam Yarnell has a lot to say about the NBA. He's been down on this postseason, but after what we've seen in the first round of the NBA playoffs, maybe we get him to change his tune. We've got that coming up, a whole bunch of NHL talk a little later on in the show as well. Lots to do on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. Glad to be back with all of you. Thanks for hanging with us as we took the week off last week with some of the specialty programming we had on as well. And again, lots more to do on this Monday. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. I've had my say in a special edition of The Big Story. It really is remarkable, Sam Yarnell, before we get to the NBA playoffs. It really is amazing. And I don't get to do this often because if anybody follows this show, there's only about 1 week off a year that I take. And usually it's closer to the start of football season. It's crazy how much can happen in 10 days. Like, it really is. Like, when you think about what we do and what we cover, when we're doing it day to day, it's not the same as when you're, when you sit back and take 10 days off. And I tweeted a little and stuff like that, and I put up a couple of Sports Wrap shorts. But in general, I really pulled back from the show for the entire, 10 days that we were off the air. A lot happens in 10 days in sports. Like, the whole landscape of some things kind of changed over the course of 10 days. So let's talk about it really is. I know it's remarkable. I feel like I need a whole week just to catch up from the 10 days that I missed. I don't want to do that to the audience though. So I did it for a minute and a half here. Let's talk about the NBA, the playoffs, and look, there were a couple of surprises in the opening round. The opening round officially concluding on Sunday with a couple of Game 7s where Orlando went and choked it up after being up 3-1 in that series against the Pistons. Hats off to Detroit for being able to pull off that comeback. The Celtics were not as fortunate, of course. They lost Jason Tatum for Game 7, but I don't want to hear Boston fans talk about the fact that they lost this series because Jason Tatum wasn't there in Game 7, when the fact of the matter is you had him for the rest of the series and it didn't really matter. So I don't want to hear Celtic fans, whining about the fact that they didn't have Jason Tatum for Game 7. It shouldn't have gotten that far. You should have been able to close this out before that. Out in the West, obviously, a couple of interesting results there with what took place with LeBron and the Lakers, and avoiding blowing the 3-0 lead against the Houston Rockets. Again, I was keeping tabs on all these things. Minnesota beats Denver. Will they get Anthony Edwards back? That remains to be seen as he's questionable for game 1. Sam, what stood out most to you from the weekend in the NBA? You thought this was going to be a boring and you hated the first round of the playoffs. It's turned out to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my opinion is never a better time to have the takes that I do about how the NBA runs its playoffs, Jason. And to their credit, right, 3 games 7 over the course of the weekend, and then all of them had a 15-point margin for the winning team in the third quarter. None of them were really all that competitive. I mean, you could make an argument maybe for the Celtics when they brought it back to within 6 and then forgot how to shoot a basketball.
Got it within
as a team
1
somehow.
They got it within 1, Sam. They got it within 1. But the fact of the matter,
1 of 10 or
I
1
know,
of 11 down the stretch.
They got 3, beaten by the 3. I mean, look, win by the 3, die by the 3. That's sort of been the philosophy there for a few years.
Yeah, and I'll get to Boston in a second because I got a bone to pick with that fan base for sure. But Jason, the thing that became ever more important to me last night as I sat with both of those game 7 that we had to endure, quite frankly, while the hockey was great last night, which we'll get to in a little bit. I was sitting with these results and my takes about the NBA playoffs, and it occurred to me that we have to do something to change the sport of basketball, because another story that came out in the sport of basketball while you were away is that the NCAA tournament is now expanding to 76 teams from 68. They were at a good number that worked for everyone at 64. Then they went to 68. No one cared. Now they're going to 76. Everyone hates it. No one thinks it's a good idea. Another story that came out while you were away, Jason, is they've completely restructured how the NBA draft lottery is going to work. I say all this to say the answer for basketball, very clearly in my mind, is relegation at this point. It is the only way. Basketball needs to structure itself more like global soccer. You look at where we're at in the playoffs. There are realistically, and I may be being a little too generous here, 4 to 6 teams that could win the championship. I don't think you would dispute that. There is a maximum of 4 to 6 teams. And again, I may be being a little too generous there. But again, you set up the NBA like international soccer, where you have a Champions League, where those 4 to 6 teams are competing for what matters. Let everyone else try to get in year over year and kick the worst 3 teams out and bring up the worst 3 or the best 3 G League teams. You turn each individual team into its own development academy, much like international soccer and international hockey. And then you can loan players out to college basketball in whatever weird situation they want to run going forward with 76 teams. To me, it's the only answer, because clearly, as we saw with the end of the first round, and I mean, look at the Western Conference in the first round, where you didn't even have a single series get past 6 games. There's got to be something done with basketball.
They'll never happen.
Shorten the season. I mean, that's not an answer. We agree on that.
They're never going to do relegation. I love the idea of relegation. I was calling for it before you even got into college. I've been calling for relegation. Like, I love the idea of relegation. It'll never happen. Because I think it's because when you look at, whether it's baseball, whether it's, in the case of the NFL, you're gonna put teams. You have a team in Birmingham, from the UFL get in, get an NFL team.
That wouldn't work.
I just don't. I love the idea. I think it's wonderfully aspirational of you. I just don't believe it's something that we're ever going to see. But I do want to say this, to get back to the on the court stuff. What Joel Embiid did in that game 7, and he is the X factor in this series against the Knicks. I think the Knicks win. Frankly, if the Knicks aren't in the NBA Finals, Mike Brown needs to be absolutely fired if the Knicks aren't in the NBA Finals, because they are the best of what is left in the Eastern Conference. Oh, absolutely. No, without question. They're playing the best basketball. What they did defensively in that first round, the Knicks are the team to beat right now in the East. But how the Knicks use Mitchell Robinson in this series to be able to bang around with Joel Embiid is going to be a fascinating watch for 7 games. Go ahead.
I'm with you. I'd take the Knicks all day long. I think it is absolutely hilarious and quintessentially New York of you to be like, yeah, if he doesn't make the NBA Finals this year, the guy's got to go after his, first or second year as the head coach of the team. That's so quintessentially New York of you. To the Joel Embiid point, this is why I don't want to hear anything about Tatum missing game 7. And again, I'll get to that in a second. Joel Embiid missed the first 4 games of that series. People are very quick to forget. And Philly still came back and won. Boston fans, we got to stop letting Jason Tatum get away with this stuff. He was practicing 6 months after tearing his Achilles with the G League team, averaged 32 minutes a game once he came back, and now we're just going to forgive him for not showing up in the team's biggest moment. People are calling Joe Mazzulla Nick Sirianni. That means Ime Udoka's Mike Vrabel, right?
Baseball is next. Later on in the show, in Odds and Ends, I will pay tribute to the passing of one of the guys that was the sounds of my youth. One of the reasons I got into broadcasting to begin with, why I did play-by-play. John Sterling passing away at the age of 87 on Monday. I'll talk about that in Odds and Ends. I have a story to share that I don't think I've shared all that often in my 30 years in the industry. That coming up a little later on. Let's talk baseball. And Sam Yarnell, we do begin with the Yankees, who are playing some of the best baseball in the game right now. Look, there's no getting around it. I mean, from a starting pitching standpoint, they are as elite as it gets. They are, Ben Rice is playing MVP caliber baseball, and I just love it. I love the fact that Juan Soto walked away to New York. And the Yankees just simply have Ben Rice, who's gets paid 1/10 of what Juan Soto gets paid, maybe 1/20th of what Juan Soto gets paid, and has been so good for this team. But the Yankees made news yesterday with the decision to basically send Anthony Volpe down to the minors after his rehab assignment time sort of expired. And they've made the decision after 3 years of Anthony Volpe being the starter to go with Jose Caballero. And I think it's the right decision based on the fact that Caballero's putting up better numbers than Anthony Volpe really has ever put up. If you go look at base percentage, slugging, all of that stuff, stolen bases, he's just better at shortstop than Anthony Volpe is, Sam.
We had, in the time that Jason was away, in the week of shows that we missed, not one, but 2 managerial firings.
We did.
And the first show back, we lead the baseball segment with Anthony Volpe getting sent down.
It's old news.
Yeah, the Yankees are good right now. Are they as good as the Braves right now? No. The most impressive thing to me about that entire division actually is that the Rays are a game and a half back. The Rays have been playing well beyond what any of us expected them to do. But yes, Anthony Volpe is an incredible bust, the likes of which you actually just saw in New York this past year with Jason Dominguez. It's their track record at this point with prospects.
Yeah, it's sad. I still think there's hope for Dominguez. I just think they've screwed up Dominguez. I think Dominguez could still wind up being a player in this league, and he's still so young. But the Yankees starting pitching, Sam, there's no getting around that. There's no getting around how good that rotation is right now. Every outing, it's 2 runs, 3 runs, 1 run. And with that offense, they're going to have a chance to win every single night with that starting pitching. I'm still worried a little bit about the bullpen, but we'll kind of figure that out as we continue to go. But the Rays, I agree with you. The Rays have been just how they do it every year is simply amazing, that they figure out a way to put a product on the field that can win baseball games.
So I will say this on the Yankees, because I was actually, during the week we were off, had a lot more time on my hands, obviously.
Yes.
I was talking to somebody in Major League Baseball who works for a National League team, just kind of about all the biggest stories, and we got to talking about the Yankees eventually. And the quote from the person about the Yankees was, yeah, they're going to go 3 straight games in the middle of June. They'll score a combined 2 runs in those 3 games, and you'll have that entire fan base calling for Aaron Boone's job. We'll see how they are after that. And I think that is just so exemplified by the fact that you could go over to the Kalshi marketplace right now, Jason Page. You could go over to the predictive markets, one of my very favorite things in the world. There's actually a market right now on Kalshi for Aaron Boone out by date. In the midst of the Yankees being in first place and performing the way that they are. This is just how it goes in New York, folks.
That's kind of nuts right now, because even I can't go after Aaron Boone right now when I was kind of wishing 3 weeks ago that they would cut and run from him. Ronald Acuna Jr. to the injury list. You could set your watch by it. It feels like every year this comes around for the Atlanta Braves, Sam Yarnell. And yet again, it is Acuna Jr. Headed to the IL. Luckily for the Braves, though, that division is kind of craptastic right now, so it probably won't hurt them all that much.
Yeah. I mean, this is a credit to the Braves because this is not like the usual Ronald Acuna Jr. injury list stints that we're used to. This is the Braves playing Dodger ball and recognizing that they're in a spot right now to play Dodger ball. The Braves, again, there's an argument to be made they're the best team in Major League Baseball, and I don't think there are very many arguments against it, especially when Ronald Acuna Jr. is healthy, which he will inevitably be. This is the Braves having an 8.5 game lead in the division on May 4th. By the way, may the 4th be with you, my friend. This is the Braves having an 8.5 game division lead on May 4th and understanding, Ronald, we don't need you for May games. Hell, we don't need you for June games. Take all the time you need, brother. We're going to need you when September comes because we're going to be real contenders this year. I am scared of the Braves, and them playing Dodger ball makes me all the much more scared of them.
Next best team in the division, 16-18 with the Braves right now at 25-10. Remarkable stuff that they've done early on. So the Munetaka Murakami story, I want to talk about this for a second because as much and wonderful as the story of him hitting all these home runs is, he's got 13. He's on a pace for 62 home runs in his rookie season, Sam Yarnell. He's also on a pace for 238 strikeouts, Sam Yarnell. Which is more likely, 238 strikeouts for Murakami, for Mooney, or 62 home runs, Sam Yarnell?
I would say they're equally unlikely.
No, I think he could strike out 238 times because he's already struck out 50 times, and teams are still kind of learning him. By the time pitchers get enough of a scouting report on this guy, he's going to strike out once every 2 at bats.
I don't know about that. It's his first month and a half of Major League Baseball. Like, how much do we complain about rookies when, they're in their first month and a half striking out a lot? It feels like, as much as you're talking about growth one way, there has to be equal growth the other way, right? He has to get more used to Major League pitching. It's different than NPB pitching. The ball is different, right? The dimensions aren't the same. So I'm not particularly confident he'll do either of these things. I'm pretty sure he's going to win Rookie of the Year, and I think he might lead the American League in home runs. It's that serious.
I also wonder, though, do they deal him? Do they flip him?
No.
Do you flip him? He's 26 years old.
Jason, look at you want to talk about craptastic divisions?
I
look
know
at the
Central.
I've
had people point that out to me.
The White Sox are a game and a half back. They've been one of the hottest teams the past week.
I've had people point that out to me. Oh, they're only 16-18, or they're only a game and a half out of the division, whatever it is. It's early. It's early May, in fact. May the 4th be with you, as Sam Yarnell said. Hockey is next. Jerry Bonkowski talks NASCAR in 10 minutes. Chase Elliott wins again. Second win for him this season. Get into that coming up. Carson Hocevar won a race while I was in Mexico as well. Or I was on the cruise to Mexico. I wasn't in Mexico yet. We like to be factual and accurate. Sam Yarnell, let's talk some hockey. And it's over for the Tampa Bay Lightning, a team that could have very well come out of the East, is out of the Stanley Cup playoffs. They've fallen 7 games to the Canadiens. One of the big, surprise. I guess it's a surprise of the first round. What Philadelphia did to Pittsburgh is certainly one of the surprises of the first round as we take stock in this opening round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, for the Lightning, 3 straight now first round playoff exits on teams that have Kucherov and Vasilevsky. That's not acceptable. I meant to research this last night and didn't end up doing it. I'm very curious when the voting for all of the NHL awards and trophies happen. You would think that John Cooper just about sealed his fate in terms of not winning the Jack Adams this year, just because, my gosh, man, you had Team Canada with McDavid and, all of the, quite frankly, that legendary lineup 1 through 12 forwards wise, right? I don't know. And then 1 through 6 D-men wise as well. And the goaltending was insane for them. And you didn't win the gold medal game. And then you go out in the first round again, third year in a row, I believe. It's at least the third year in a row, maybe more. Yeah, there's something's gonna have to change in Tampa Bay, and it sucks for me. I'm a huge John Cooper guy, right? He went to the same college as him. He has a ton of records at my college in the athletics department. So yeah, it's tough to see this kind of thing play out the way it has in Tampa, but I don't know if this is acceptable when this is a city that's used to hockey, that's used to cups, quite frankly. That was my main takeaway from that series. And, aside from the fact that, my goodness, that last game, when you hold a team, and I get it, right? The little puck luck here from the Canadians, especially on that second goal. When you hold a team to as few shots on goal as they did, the fewest in a playoff win in NHL history,
9.
You gotta win.
9
you gotta win. Yeah, single-digit shots on goal, average 3 a period. You gotta win. And I don't want to put the blame on Vasilevsky, but when do the math. When your save percentage in a game is like 67, that's not great.
How does that
72,
happen?
Not great.
9 shots on net. And you win a game. It's wow. By the way, for all the talk, and we love the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs and the drama that often ensues. There were more NBA games played in the opening round of the playoffs than there were NHL Stanley Cup playoff games played. Just to put that in perspective, sort of what we saw in the opening round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And look, the Flyers getting through that first round, they looked extremely flat. It was one of the games I actually got to watch on the cruise, was game 1 against the Hurricanes. They looked really flat in game 1, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, the Hurricanes are just, you saw it in all the numbers that went around before the series started. The Hurricanes are just so much better than the Flyers. I think that, if you're Philadelphia, with everything that this Philadelphia team has gone through this year, Jason, between the fire talk it chants to where to fighting their way back in by the end of the season, you just got to be happy having that first round victory over Pittsburgh. Maybe you get a game, maybe you get a couple, but I don't think anyone, even Philadelphia fans, are expecting a ton from the Flyers against what is definitely the best team in the East and maybe the best team in hockey.
Wild and Avalanche played a banger last night, 9-6 the final score. Not something you see in the playoffs very often. Every time I turned around, there was another goal scorer. It's like, oh, it was 5-5. I had to run to the casino to get rid of some free play that I had. Get to the casino, it's 7-5. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, thank goodness for the NHL. Honestly, thank goodness that this game was on last night, because luckily I was able to multi-view it with that awful Raps Cavs game 7 that was just absolutely horrible. And it's so funny, right? Playoff hockey just rocks so much. You would rather watch a game 1 of playoff hockey than a freaking game 7 of the NBA. I think it speaks volumes, but the game rocked. You're right. We do not get those very often. And I was thinking to myself, the sports bettor in me, when the game was 4-4 in the second period, late in the second period, I was thinking to myself, man, do you think the total in this game gets over 12? What a bad handicap. I mean, my gosh, that was woohoo. Good thing I don't work at the book.
All right, I'll ask you, because you are Sabres fan number 1 on this show. Probably one of the only Sabres fans in national sports media that gets to do a show every day. Sabres Canadians, what worries you about Montreal in that series?
What worries me is that they're a team that has more postseason experience than the Sabres, right? And that's going to be the problem against every team for the Sabres throughout the playoffs, right? That was the problem with the Bruins. It's going to be the problem with the Habs. It'll be the problem with either maybe not the Flyers, but probably the Flyers, honestly. It'll definitely be the problem if they play the Hurricanes the next round, and again with whoever they play in the Stanley Cup. That is what you really have to worry about with anyone, or that is what you have to bet on if you're betting against Buffalo at this point in the playoffs. But Jason, on the the other side, you look at a Canadiens team that's rocking with a rookie goaltender who's hot. Nevertheless, he's hot, but he is a rookie at the end of the day. Alex Lyon, who the Sabres seemed to ride with towards the end of that Boston series, he's been here before with Florida. He's done the dance, right? He's made his way through the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I'm very interested to watch these series. You look at the betting odds, it's the only one with a series line that's at all close, and no one can figure it out. Half the books have the Sabres as the underdogs, the other half have the Canadiens as the underdogs. So I'm very excited to watch it.
Interesting also to watch the Golden Knights and the Ducks as that series gets underway tonight as well in Anaheim. Lots more to talk about. Jerry Bonkowski joins us next. Welcome back to the show. Fridays and Mondays on Sports Wrap, we recap everything you missed in NASCAR. And this time around, it's Chase Elliott, your winner. In Texas. Let's bring in our friend, the great Jerry Bonkowski. Essentially Sports does a fantastic job on NASCAR. Joins us every Monday on the show. He had been under the weather. Good to see you. Glad you are ambulatory and hopefully feeling better. I know you're powering through, still battling this this bug you've been going through. So thanks for coming on. Always appreciate you, my friend.
My pleasure.
Let's talk about it. Chase Elliott picks up his second win of the season. Carson Hocevar won last weekend. It's been that long since we did a show. So start with what Chase Elliott accomplished with his second win yesterday. This one in Texas. How did he do it?
Well, he's been kind of a hot and cold kind of guy. I mean, he's high up there in the rankings. What is he, third, I think, in the standings? So it's not been a bad season, but it's not really been a typical Chase Elliott season. So yesterday at Texas was more of the usual Chase Elliott that we're used to, if you will. And I think it definitely gives a spark to him and his team. Certainly gives a spark to Hendrick Motorsports. His teammate Alex Bowman gets the third place finish in a row, which may very well be coming close to saving his job. I mean, that this is his final season with Hendrick. But if he keeps on getting third place finishes, maybe gets a few wins, he may wind up writing his ticket for another extension, because he's a big fan. Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon are both big fans of him as well too. So it was a good day for the most part for Hendrick Motorsports, and we'll just see where we go from here at Watkins Glen. That's always kind of a wild card race, if you will. So we'll see what happens next Sunday.
Tyler Reddick finished fourth, continuing his fantastic season as well. What did you see from Reddick yesterday?
I like what I see from Reddick all season. I mean, I think this is the guy. People are saying, well, he's got 5 wins. Maybe he's not, but they're still not giving him enough credit. I think that looking at where he's at in the standings right now, what he's done so far, he's 5 of the first 9 he wins. I still think he's the guy to beat for the championship.
Wow.
But we'll see. I mean, we still got another we're 12. I'm trying to do the math here in my head. We got over 20 races left to go, 25 races left to go, more than that. So it's going to be interesting. No, 24 races, I guess it is now. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that right now, in my mind, I would go with Reddick as the favorite to win the championship. Unless his season falls apart in the middle of the season, I think he's the guy to beat.
Yeah, he's plus 430 right now over on FanDuel to win the Cup Series championship. Denny Hamlin at 5-1, Kyle Larson at 6-1, Ryan Blaney at plus 650, followed by Christopher Bell at plus 750, and Chase Elliott, who we were just talking about, at plus 750 as well. Go back to Carson Hocevar's win last week and what it meant for him to finally get that first one under his belt. He's sort of that Days of Thunder driver. A lot of people like to talk about that. A lot of people were wondering if he would ever mature enough to the point to get that first win. Now that he has it, and he got a top 10 finish yesterday. I think he was 7th or 8th. Talk about what this means for Hocevar going forward.
Well, I mean, this is a guy that he's been a win waiting to happen. And the way that he won at Talladega is very convincing. However, there's an old adage in NASCAR that as hard as the first one is to win, the second one's even harder. Some people don't believe in that. I actually do. So it's a matter of where is he going to go from here. I mean, obviously finishing seventh or eighth, whatever he was yesterday's race. Texas is a very difficult place to win at, let alone finish in the top 10. So he did a good job there. But when you get a place like Watkins Glen next week, that's going to be a big test on him. And you've got other races, other big races coming up. You've got the Coca-Cola 600 at the end of May. You've got the Chicago race 4th of July weekend. You got the big race in San Diego. I think probably the next 6 to 10 races are really going to tell the story about whether Hocevar is for real or if it's just a fluke, because Talladega really is kind of a fluke track. A lot of guys have won there that have had very few chances of winning at other places. Same thing with Daytona. Look at Michael McDowell wins the Daytona 500 what was it, 2021, I think it was. So, I mean, those are places where it's not surprising to see a surprising driver win. It's what the driver does after that in the subsequent races that convinces me whether he's for real or not. And right now, I'm still not 100% sold in Hocevar, but I'm a little bit more sold than I was before Talladega.
Jerry Bonkowski does a great job with Essentially Sports, talking about NASCAR and auto racing in general. Kyle Busch yesterday. Did he intentionally wreck John Hunter Nemechek? From your vantage point and what you watched and what we all saw, what did it look like to you?
I can see why people would say that he wrecked him. I don't believe it. I mean, what does he have to gain? Final lap of the race. What does he have to gain? I mean, really, I think it was just two guys were in the wrong place at the wrong time. They both misjudged what they did, and they wound up crashing. So, I don't think there's really any bad blood between Nemechek and Busch. Busch obviously was very incensed about what happened, and I can kind of see that because he's trying to get a decent finish, and he had a horrible season. There's no question about that, and by circumstances became what they were. I still don't think that he was totally at fault. I think they were both at fault. I think that they were just going for the same bit of real estate. We see that almost every single week, two guys going for the same kind of real estate or same real estate together, and they wind up, smashing each other out. So I don't think there's a feud here. I don't think there's going to be anything long-term out of this. But, Kyle was trying to get as good a finish as he could. He actually had a decent day, one of the few decent days he's had. So we'll see if there's going to be any fallout from this. I don't think there's going to be, but time will tell.
Jerry Bonkowski always does a great job. Essentially Sports. Read him there. Always appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday. Good to be back after a week away. Couple of reminders before we go. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. Monday through Friday audio version of this show. Available wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show Monday through Friday, crystal clear audio. We encourage you to go and check that out. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place for all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show, waiting there for you, commercial free, 45 minutes. Early each afternoon. Go and subscribe. It is free. It is fantastic. I promise you. Our companion podcasts, we post those as well. Extended conversations, clips from the show, a whole bunch more. All available on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Also available on that YouTube channel are Sports Wrap Shorts. When news breaks, we jump in on the YouTube channel because we can't be on your TV 24/7. If we could, we would. But instead, we have the Sports Wrap Shorts. Go and subscribe to our Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel and get Sports Wrap Shorts as well. Breaking news, top stories, big games, we got them covered for you. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page Sports Wrap Shorts are also available on our TikTok. Sports Wrap Shorts available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram as well. You guessed it, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And without any further delay on this Monday edition of the show, it's time for some odds. and ends. Odds and ends, Cam Young a winner for the second time this year on the PGA Tour. He takes the PGA Tour stop at Doral, Trump Doral, make sure you get the Trump in, as good win. I mean, look, this is one of the big events on the tour every year. Cam Young winning for the second time and really starting to spread his wings. And perhaps be that challenger to Scottie Scheffler. We're all kind of wondering who that's going to be. Maybe it is Cam Young. Scottie Scheffler, a second place finish yet again. Young was dominant. Wire-to-wire win for him. Odds and ends, and this one's going to be tough for me to get through because John Sterling passed away at the age of 87. It was announced on Monday morning. And John Sterling, we don't hide it on the show. I'm a Yankee fan. I grew up in New York, grew up in Connecticut, live in Las Vegas now, but I grew up a Yankee fan. I grew up listening to John Sterling. John Sterling was one of those 2 or 3 play-by-play voices that I grew up with constantly in my ears and made me want to be a play-by-play guy. And I was fortunate enough to do it in the minor leagues and some professional football and college and all of that stuff. Never to the degree that I had hoped, but certainly loved it. And John Sterling was one of those guys I grew up to as a youngster and said, I want to be John Sterling. I want to be a play-by-play voice. And one of those memorable voices. Those voices you'll never forget. An iconic voice. And John Sterling was somebody that when I first got into broadcasting, I had an opportunity to sit down with and talk to. So I thought it was appropriate on this day where we find out about his passing just a couple of years after retiring as the Yankees play-by-play voice, that we hear from John Sterling, in his own words, some of the great calls over the years.
Once again, it'll be a 3-2. The stretch and pitch. Swung on and popped up again off third. Hayes has room. Hayes makes the catch. Yankees win. The Yankees win. The New York Yankees have won the 1996 World Series. They have surmounted every challenge. They have climbed every mountain. And the New York Yankees are world champions.
Bernie Williams plays a step around to left. The 0-1. Swung on. He's going to get it. Popped up to right field. O'Neill near the line. He makes the catch. David Wells has pitched a perfect game. 27 up, 27 down. Baseball immortality for David Wells. And the Yankees win. The Yankees win. David Wells has pitched as good a baseball game as you can ever pitch.
David Cone is 1 out away from a perfect game. It'll be a 1-1 pitch. He popped him up. He's going to get it. Brocious down from third. Brocious makes the catch. Ball game over. A perfect game. A perfect game for David Cone. The third time works like a charm. It is the third perfect game in Yankee Stadium history. Don Larson in 56. David Wells in 98. David Cone in 99. 27 up, 27 down. David Cone has attained baseball immortality.
And so did John Sterling. Man never said no ever to me to do an interview. Over all these years, he never became too big for that. As big as he was, and he was larger than life in New York. Quick story, September 20th, 1998. First Major League Baseball game I ever covered for a little radio station in Chestertown, Maryland. WCTR. John Sterling agreed to let me interview him. Front row, third base line at Camden Yards for about 20 minutes. I still have the cassette tape. It was the night Cal Ripken would actually decide to end the historic streak, the Iron Man streak. And I remember it as much for being able to talk to John Sterling as I do for Cal Ripken ending the streak that day. It's going to do it for us on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. Rest in peace, John Sterling. Thanks to all of you for watching. Thanks to Jerry Bonkowski, Sam Yarnell as well. I'm Jason Page. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got Sports Wrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? you probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half of as they're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.